Hello everyone, this is Mary Ann and I'm back with another video. In this video, I would like to show you how I created the new dividers that I am using right now, the polka dotted ones. And I would like to show you the file that I made for it on InDesign. Now, as you know, I'm using a new binder and I've showed it in the previous video, and I had to make new dividers for it because the ones that I am using, the pink and black ones, no longer matched the color when I shifted to a new binder. So this is the InDesign file that I made. As you can see, those are not JPEGs, those are not images, those are vectors that were created on Adobe Illustrator before. There you can see me selecting the paths that I have put on InDesign. And the file, the document size, the page size of this is 171 millimeters in height and 105 millimeters tall. Now, the personal sized Filofax pages that I have always been using has a dimension of 95 millimeters by 171 millimeters. But because I wanted the tabs to be on the side, I added like 10 more millimeters to the 95, which made it 105. And if you can see, that's why that's 105, because I added 10 millimeters to the standard 95. And as you can see, I just dragged the guide. I dragged a guide from the side to the 95 millimeter mark so that I would know that that is where the 95 ends and the extra 10 millimeters begins. And let me just show you here what the actual tab is made out of. It is really just a rectangle that I placed on top of the polka dots to cover up everything beyond the 95 millimeters. And then I used the color, the same color of those circles over there. And that's the color that I used for the tab. And here it is, the finished file in preview mode, and I just printed this out on A4 paper with the crop marks. I printed it with the crop marks, and I will show you the, the printed sheets on the next video clip. So here it is now, the printed sheet on A4 paper. As you can see, there are crop marks. There are crop marks on the paper, and those will be my guides when I'm already cutting the paper down to size. And those crop marks are exactly the same dimension as the one I specified in the file, which is 171 millimeters by 105 millimeters. What I did was I printed the same file twice so that I would have two sheets of each divider page. They look exactly the same, and I will just paste them back to back, and I will show you in a minute. And then I proceeded to cut those sheets to the size of 171 millimeters by 105 millimeters, and I used the crop marks as my guide to where I'm going to place the aluminum ruler so that the line that I cut by hand is not going to be crooked. So that is really one of the benefits of being able to print with crop marks, because even if you don't have a solid object that lies flush along the edge of the actual project, like the polka dots, polka dots don't really are not, it's not a solid object that is completely aligned to the one side of the file. So if I don't have the crop marks, I would have probably cut that crooked. So that is one of the advantages of having crop marks when you print anything that you have to cut down into a smaller size. So I just repeated that for the other sheet. Next, I put the two sheets back to back like so. I put a small amount of glue or paste. I actually used a glue stick for this. After cutting the papers down to size, I put a little glue and then put them back to back like so. like that. And then I punched holes with it using my 6-hole punch from Franklin Covey. And later on, I will explain why I did the hole punching before the lamination. And then here are two that I've already made. They're already back to back, as you can see, and they have already been hole punched by the standard Franklin Covey compact hole punch. And I'm now going to laminate these two sheets together. And these are the two divider sheets inside a laminating pouch that is A4 in size. So two personal size dividers can fit into one A4 sized laminating pouch. And I'm actually using a rather clunky, very old laminating machine, or I don't know what you actually call it. The brand is Pro Lam. You can see it right there on the front of the machine. So it really just functions like a usual laminator. At first I fed in the sheet when it wasn't really completely hot yet, so I had to redo it, but it came out correctly the second time. And then I took the laminated sheet and I'm using my basic paper trimmer, and then I segregated the two dividers from each other so that it will make it easier for me to cut with more precision on each. I don't really have the proper, I don't really have a specific measurement for how big of a margin I was to leave on for the lamination, but I just, eyeballed it and just estimated what would be a safe margin for the lamination to not, come apart. Because if the margin is too small, the lamination might come apart at the edge, but if it's too big, it does not really look good and it's not very convenient to turn the dividers over. So really I don't have a measurement, but just use the margin measurement that you are used to and which you find most effective on your kind or your brand of laminating pouch. And there is the laminated divider that has been cut down to size. And the next thing I did was I took a basic corner rounder and then I rounded the edges so that they won't be so sharp, so that they won't cut my hand when I'm trying to turn the pages over. And it makes everything more easy to handle if the edges are not so sharp. And then the next thing I did was I took a single hole punch. Well, actually, it is not a single hole punch. It is actually an eyelet maker, but it has a 5mm single hole punch. So that's what I used to punch out the holes that I have initially hole punched before using the Franklin Covey 6-ring hole punch for the compact. And after I laminated it, the lamination covered the holes, and so I had to punch it out again. And I will explain the benefit of this in a minute. But that's just me punching out the rest of the holes that were covered by the lamination. And then after punching out the holes a second time, I fed the finished divider in through the laminating machine another time to seal off, to soften the edges that have been previously rounded, and to seal the edges around the hole punch. I just think that it secures the lamination a little bit more if I do this extra step. As you can see, the edge that was over that particular hole is now sort of a little bit more sealed, so I just feel more comfortable doing this extra step. It only takes a few seconds. And now here is the finished divider inside the planner that I am using. As you can see, the I'm showing you the holes again to show you that the edge of the paper inside the lamination should line exactly with the actual paper that is inside the planner. Because the lamination is clear, we don't really see it jutting out from the edges of the actual papers in the divider. So if we close the planner and we view it from that angle, we don't really see any extra things hanging out from the edges because the laminating pouch is clear. But what we see is the paper that composes the divider, and that is still perfectly aligned with the papers inside the planner. That is why I hole punched the divider with a standard 6-hole punch before laminating it, and then hole punched it with a single hole punch afterwards, so that the divider paper will align with the rest of the pages that are inside the planner, and that nothing will look like it's hanging out when it's viewed from that particular angle. So even if it's not so perfectly aligned, at least nothing dramatically hangs out, because the laminating pouch that hangs out from the edge of the divider paper is clear and we don't really see it. So that's it. That's how I made my dividers, and I hope this video gave you some ideas in how to make your dividers. So that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time. Bye!